Okay, Bezim and Alf, line 22. Let's get some Chazara going. The Mishnah said, Retzeach shot zechutz l'tchum. The Retzeach goes out of the tchum, so we had a machlokes if the Gal Adam has permission to kill him or the Gal Adam has a mitzvah to kill him. We keep coming back to this. The whole Amud is busy with this. So the Gemara is going to give us the source for this machlokes. Tana Rabbanan. Rabbanan taught us in a brayso. And here we have three different types of words that could be used to discuss one person killing another. V'ratzach means he killed. It's matter of fact. Yirtzach means he will kill or he should kill. And Imratzach means if he kills. So there's three different ways the pasuk could have said it. The pasuk chose to say, quote, in line 23, V'ratzach Gal Adam asar Retzeach. The Gal Adam kills the Retzeach. End quote. So the Bryce understands this to mean mitzvah biyad Gal Adam. It's a mitzvah for the Gal Adam to kill. Ein Gal Adam, if there is no Gal Adam, Rishus biyad Kol Adam, any other person is allowed to kill him, but does not have a mitzvah to. Divi Rabbi Yossi Aglili. These words are Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Rabbi Kiva says, Rishus biyad Gal Adam. The Gal Adam is allowed to kill him. V'chol Adam chayav, and all of anyone else that kills is going to be chayav misa, meaning he's not allowed to kill. The Gemara wants to know what is the basis for this machlokes. So the Gemara starts first by explaining Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who says it's a mitzvah. My time in Rabbi Yossi Aglili. What is the reason for Rabbi Yossi Aglili who says it's a mitzvah? And the Gemara explains. Because Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, Miksiv, does the pasuk say, and here we have to pay attention to the terms, does the pasuk say, quote unquote, imratzach? Question mark, exclamation point. Does the pasuk say, if he kills him? It doesn't say if he kills him. It says the Gal Adam kills him, which sounds more mandatory. Doesn't say if he kills him. If he kills him,
it really sounds like none. That's the reality.
It's neutral, right?
If he kills,
right. So it does sound matter of fact. However, there is another way to say it in each direction. There's a way to say it very, very much, optional. Imratzach. And Rabbi Kiva is going to take the opposite perspective. He's going to say, Miksiv, does the pasuk say, quote unquote, Yirtzach, he will kill or he should kill? It doesn't say that. It says V'ratzach, he killed. So since it doesn't say Yirtzach, Rabbi Kiva says it's only a Rishus. Again, each one is saying since it doesn't go to the other extreme, therefore, Rabbi Yossi Aglili says since it doesn't say the extreme optional, it means mandatory. Rabbi Kiva says since it doesn't say the extreme mandatory, it means optional. Here the Gemara is going to bring a third shita. Mazur Tabatuvi said the name of Rav. Retzeach shiat zechutz l'tchum, Retzeach that exited the tchum of your miklot, so he's out of his safety zone. Umatza Gal Adam v'orga, the Gal Adam found him and killed him. You know what happens? Neragol. Gal Adam gets killed for that. So on top of the word Neragol, I wrote Gal Adam. The Gal Adam gets killed, which means the Gal Adam is not allowed to kill the Retzeach. And the Gemara asks on that. This is an Amora talking. How could he say this? Come on. Which town is this going like? Who's this going like? Like Rabbi Yossi Aglili. It's not like Rabbi Yossi Aglili who says it's a mitzvah. But like Rabbi Akiva, it's not like Rabbi Akiva who says it's a rishus. It's neither. It doesn't fit with either Tana. Because this Amor seems to hold that it's usher for him to kill. Not only is it not a mitzvah, not only is it not a rishus, he's not even allowed to do it. And the Gemara answers, Hudamar Tana. Mazutra Batuvia was going like a third Tana. The Tanya learned to the Bryce, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer says, I have an interesting pasuk. The pasuk says, do not kill a Retzeach, quote, ad under lefnei ha'edel ha'mishpat, until he stands judgment in Bezdin. End quote. So, Ma Talmud Loimer, what is this pasuk coming to teach me? You can't kill a person until he's judged in Bezdin. Obviously, we never kill a person until he's judged in Bezdin. Says the Gemara, Lefish, since the pasuk says, by a Retzeach b'shoig, it says, quote, V'ratzach Gal Adam asar Retzeach, the Gal Adam is going to kill the Retzeach, end quote. So, Yachel, you may have thought it means miyad. It means immediately. As soon as he walks out of your miklat, you can kill him. Talmud Loimar comes this pasuk and says, quote, Adam doi, you will not kill him, Adam doi, until he stands Lefnei Eida, in front of Bezdin HaMishpat to be judged.
That
end quote.
Pasuk's not regarding a Goyal Adam.
A
Retzeach. I mean, B'shegeg.
Well, Rabbi Eliezer is learning that it is regarding it.
Oh, yeah?
So what's it telling me? When do we kill him in front of Bezdin? Meaning, if he leaves your miklat, we're going to drag him to Bezdin. We're going to see him in Rabbi Yossi Aglili and Rabbi Kiva argue on that one. But Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Rabbi Eliezer that says that he's not allowed to kill the Retzeach, he's got to drag him to Bezdin first. He says this pasuk is talking about a Retzeach b'shegeg. Now, the problem is going to be, what does Rabbi Yossi Aglili and Rabbi Akiva do with this pasuk? Because they hold there's no requirement of taking him to Bezdin before you kill him. You can kill him as soon as he leaves your miklat. Either you could kill him or you're mechuyev to kill him. There's a mitzvah to kill him. What do they do with that pasuk? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Glili, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yosef Glili and Rabbi Akiva that do not hold that it's talking about Eretzeach b'shoigeg. So hi, this pasuk of quote Adam dar lefnei eda lamishpat, end quote, which says you have to wait till you stand judgment in Bezdin. My dar shibei. What do they do with the pasuk?
Hi means
This pasuk, the following pasuk of Adam dar lefnei eda lamishpat, end quote. My dar shibei. What do they do with that pasuk? On that, the Gemara answers, Hahumi ba'ilei. That pasuk they need, look at the Tanya for that which we learned in a Brisa. Another din learned out of the same pasuk. The Rabbi Akiva says a new din, and this new din is not talking about someone who killed b'shoigeg. It's talking about someone who killed the Mezid. He killed the Mezid, and he killed in front of Bezdin. So minayin, how do we know? The Sanhedrin, Shero, Sanhedrin, the Bezdin that saw Echad Shahar Gasanefesh. They saw a person killed. How do we know? She'ein memisin oisoi. We don't kill him. Ad sheyamoy de Bezdin acher. Till he stands judgment in another Bezdin. Talmud loimar, a question mark. Talmud loimar. I skipped that one by mistake. In line 33. Talmud loimar comes the pasuk and says, quote, Ad omda lefnei oed al mishpat, end quote. Do not kill him, ad omda, till he stands lefnei oed for the Bezdin al mishpat to be judged. End quote. And we'll learn from there, Ad shad yamoid the Bezdin acher. Until he stands judgment in another Bezdin. So, somebody asks you, what does this pasuk teach me? Adon le'ofnei Edo. Mishpat Tikon Rabbi Eliezer teaches you, Ratzeach b'shoigeg, goes out of her miklat, you cannot kill him until you drag him to Bezdin. According to Rabbi Yosef Glili and Rabbi Akiva, it's teaching you, Ratzeach b'mezid, that killed in front of Bezdin, even though Bezdin saw him kill, they have to go through the due process of having him stand trial in another Bezdin, and they become the witnesses. That was one sugya. The next sugya we dealt with this week was, what happens if a Ritzach goes out of your miklat by mistake? He didn't realize that he's crossing the line of the Tchum. Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught it in Brisa. The pasuk says, quote, Im yotza yetzer Ritzach, end quote, double lashon. If the Ritzach goes out, go down will kill him. It says a double lashon. So the Brisa darshans, ainly I would not have known, meaning if it would not have said this pasuk, ainly I would not have known that he gets killed, ela b'mezid, only if it goes out b'mezid. If he intentionally leaves your miklat. B'shoigeg minayin, question mark. How do you know even if he goes out b'shoigeg, still the Gadam could kill him? Tamalema comes the pasuk and says, quote, Im yatsa yetze, double lashon, end quote, which teaches us mikol makar. Anywhere that he goes out, whether he goes out b'mezid, or even if he goes out b'shoigeg, he will get killed by the Gadam, period. That was one Brisa. The problem we have is we have a Brisa which says the exact opposite. So the Gemara asks, so how you learned in another Brisa? Line 35, b'mezid, if he goes up b'mezid, he gets killed. B'shoigeg, if he goes up b'shoigeg, goyle, he goes to Galos. So we see he does not, meaning goyle means we send him back into our miklat. So we see that what? That we do not kill him if he goes up b'shoigeg. On that, the Gemara answers, like kasha. There is no steer. Oh, the second Brisa, which says that if he goes up a shogeg, we just send him back to your miklat, goes command Amar, like the one that says, Amrina, and we always say, Dibra Torah, just pass this down. Dibra Torah, the Torah speaks, Kalashim b'nei Adam, the way people speak. The Torah speaks the way people speak, which means when the Torah uses a double lashon, there's nothing strange about that. Torah's not coming to tell you anything. That's just a natural way of speaking. So there's no extra word in the pasuk. So there's no source to say that even if he goes out b'shoigeg, he gets killed. And on line 36, the first Brisa which says he gets killed even if he goes out b'shoigeg, because we darshan the extra word in the pasuk is command nama, like the one who holds lo yamrina. We don't say, quote, Divra Torah Klash Shemnei Adam, end quote. We don't say the Torah always speaks the way people speak, and therefore, when the pasuk says an extra word, we're going to use that for a drasha. We're going to learn from there that even if he goes out b'shoigeg, he still gets killed. Period. So that resolved the stira. Now, Abaya says, Mistabra. It is more logical. It is more probable to say command Amma like the one that says Dibur Torah Kolosh Shemnei Adam, and quote that the Torah does speak the way people speak, and therefore there's no extra word in the pasuk, which results in the din being that if the Ritzach went out the Shogeg, he just gets sent back into your mikvat. Why do I think that's more logical, says Abaya? Shaloye soifoi, his end should not be chomer mitchilasoi, more chomer than his beginning. What does that mean? The end of the story was that he walked out of her miklat. The beginning of the story was that he killed. So his exiting her miklat should not be treated more harshly than his actual murder. Matchilasa, just like when he killed, what was the din? B'mezid, if he does that b'mezid, now he gets killed. But b'shaygig, if he only killed b'shaygig, he was sent to Galus. So to the end of the story, when he exited her miklat, b'mezid, now if he went out b'mezid, he gets killed. But b'shaygig, if he only exited b'shaygig, Goyla would just send him back to Galus. That's Abaya's psak. That's his choice between these two rises. And the last sugya of the week was discussing if a father killed his own son unintentionally. Tanichad will into one brisa. I have sharg a father who killed Kamo. B'noi nas l'ga adam. Period. Son becomes a gal adam, which seems to say that a son will kill his own father as a gal adam. But Tanya will into another brisa. Ein b'noi nas l'ga adam. Son cannot become his gal adam. Son cannot kill his own father to take revenge for a murder. So the Gemara is going to suggest that this is a machloikis, and the machloikis is based on the machloikis in our Mishnah, if the Gal Adam is a mitzvah to kill, or just a rishas. Says the Gemara, Lema, let us say, that's always a suggestion, that the brisa which says that he does take revenge against his father, which is the first brisa, that's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Rabbi Yossi Aglili who says that it's a mitzvah for Gal Adam to kill. So even though it's his own father, he should go ahead and do it because it's a mitzvah. But the second brisa is Rabbi Akiva, who says it's only a rishus. So in the event that it's his own father, we'll tell him to back off. So the Gemara asks, could that be? The Tizbra, I'll ask you. Whether you hold it's a mitzvah to kill, or it's a rishus. Mishari, by a father, would it be permitted? And we also had a brisa said over in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel, the lakoil for every punishment in the Torah. Ein aben nas a shliach. The son does not become the shliach of Bezdin la'aviv against his own father. Lakoil say to hit him, will kill a to curse him. The reason why the brisa uses these two examples is because there's a pasuk in the Torah says not to hit your own father. Pasuk in the Torah says not to curse your own father. So we're using those two examples. But the point is, a son is never the shliach of Bezdin to punish his own father. So that cannot be the explanation in the brisa which says that the son becomes a gal adam. Now there is one exception to this rule where a son does punish his father. Chutz, besides in the case of mimesis, of the case where the father was convincing others to do avodah zarah. Shari Amra Torah, the Torah says, quote, Lo Yisach Mil, do not have pity. Lo Tichasal, do not cover up for him, end quote. So we don't do anything to save the life of a person that was a mesis. So what is the explanation of the brisa that says the son becomes a gal adam? Ella rather says the Gemara like Hasha, there's no stira. The second brisa which says the son does not become a gal adam is talking about Bebenoi, the son of the killer. The first brisa is talking about Bebenoi, the grandson of the killer, who is the son of the victim. So when it says the son does become a gal adam, it means the son of the victim becomes a gal adam. Just interesting fact. We just mentioned in this Gemara that by a mesis, the Torah tells us not to have any pity on him. This is contrary to every other person that gets killed in Bezdin. There's a rule of the Yitzilo Yoeda. Bezdin does whatever they can to not kill somebody. We'll see more about that in the end of the first paragraph here at Hashem, that Bezdin asks a lot of questions and interrogates him. By a mesis, not only doesn't Bezdin try to save him, we actually try to set him up. Gemara says if a friend approaches a person and says, let's go do avodah zarah, he's supposed to say to him, I can't talk right now, let's talk tomorrow about this. And set up two Eidim that should overhear it. And we have to give us always have to warn a person before he does something. So in like a backhanded way says to him, you're really not supposed to do this. To get the guy to say, I don't care. And we set him up. We frame him. We don't make him do the Avera, but if he's doing the Avera, we'll make sure that we catch him and do whatever we can to uproot him and to get rid of him. Okay, so that was this week's Gemara.
Everything or just avodah zarah?
Just avodah zarah.
Let's just go steal.
No, just avodah zarah. Just avodah zarah. Mace is only for avodah zarah. Okay, we have a little bit of a big sugya here that I'd like to cover tonight in our Chazara. So I'm line 23 on Zion Amud Beis, and we'll try to get all the way down to the Mishnah. It's 22 lines or so. Says the Gemara, this is coming off the rule that anything moving downwards, if the accident happened when the object was moving downwards, he's chayav.
Where we starting from?
23 on Zayin Amud base. If it was moving upwards, then he's potter. It's boiminate. There's a dot there. It's just about almost halfway down the page. So the Gemara's question is going to be as follows. Again, when something's moving upwards and it ended up killing, it's potter. If it's moving downwards and it ended up killing, it's chayav. So the Gemara is going to discuss a hybrid case. A person is going up a ladder. The person is going upwards. However, when he steps on the rung sags downwards. The step of the ladder moves down, and it slips out, and it killed somebody. So the weapon was actually the rung, but the motion that was taking place here is a person going up a ladder. There's an upward element, and there's a downward element, and the question is which one is the focus on. So the Gemara asks as follows: Rabbi Vo asked Rabbi Yochanan, if a person was going up a ladder, and the rung slipped out from underneath him, and it fell, and it killed. In this case, mahu, what is the din? And he's going to explain both options here. Ki hai gavna, a case like this. Ki means like this, gavna, a case. Ki hai gavna, a case like this. Aliyahi, do we look at the person, and the person was moving upwards? Or yiridai, or do we look at the rung that was sagging, and the rung was moving downwards? Is it considered downwards? So that was Rabbi Vo's question that he asked Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said back to him, this is very similar to a different case we discussed. And we did this last week in our Chazara, where a person was moving an axe downwards in order to chop something upwards. So the focus is on the upwards, but at the end of the day, he is moving downwards. He's swinging down in order to get upward momentum. And there we said he's chayil. Says Rabbi Yochanan, the person wanted to knock a nail into the ceiling, so he swings the hammer downwards. But on the way down, we said in the earlier Gemara, is going to be chayil. Even though his focus here is on swinging up, but since, if we do the whole thing in slow motion, there was a downward motion, so therefore he's going to be chayil. So Rabbi Yochanan wants to compare this case. He says here there's the same thing. The main focus here is going upwards. The person is going up a ladder, but there is an element of downwards, and the downward element will be chayil. So on my late, line 26, Rabbi Yochanan said back to Rabbi Vo, Kvar nogata, you just touched the case, which means you bumped into a case of a yerida going downwards, for the purpose of going upwards. And we learned that if something is moving down for the purpose of going upwards, he's chayil. So if you just want to answer in one word, Rabbi Yochanan said, when the person is going up the ladder and the rung slips out and falls down, he's chayil. It's the one word answer. Rabbi Vo wasn't so happy with this. Rabbi Vo asked him, I just lost it. There it is, line 27. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Vo asks, Eisvei, or Yisivei, he asked him, the last line of the Mishnah said as follows. He's going to quote the Mishnah. Quote, Zaklal, the rules as follows. Kol shebederich yiridasoi, goyel, anything that's moving downwards does go to galus. Shaloi bederich yiridasoi, if it's not on the way downwards, eina goyel, end quote, does not go to galus. Now, those last 5 words in the Mishnah, that if it was not going downwards, does not go to galus. Those words are extra. Because the Mishnah gave us examples of going downwards already, and said he's only chayav on the way down. And gave us examples of going upwards, and said he's not chayav. So we already discussed that. So why does the Mishnah summarize at the end? If it was not going downwards, he's not chayav. Says Rabbi Vo, you know why? Probably to tell me this case, that since the person was not going downwards, he's not chayav. That was a new case that the Mishnah was coming to add. So Rabbi Vo says, third word of line 29. Shaloi b'derech yiridasai. The word shaloi b'derech yiridasai li'isuyemai. What is the Mishnah coming to add with that? Lav, isn't it so? Li'isuye, it's coming to add ki hai gavna. The word shatavis is the same as the last 3 words in line 25. Ki hai gavna, a case like this. Isn't this what the Mishnah is coming to tell us? That this case is not going to be chayav? So again, Rabbi Yochanan says he's going up a ladder. The rung sags downwards and flies out, he's chayav. Says Rabbi Vo, isn't that what the Mishnah is coming to tell me is pater? Isn't that what the Mishnah is hinting at? When it says if he's not on the way down, he's not going to be chayav? So Rabbi Yochanan says back to him, I hear what you're saying. But according to you, that you're micro-analyzing the last few words of the Mishnah, there's another few extra words in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, anyway, it's on the way down, is chayav. Those words are also extra. Says Rabbi Yochanan. Here's Rabbi Yochanan talking right here. Uli tamech. According to you that you are analyzing the last two lines in the Mishnah, that you're squeezing out new dinim from those last two lines from the summary of the Mishnah. So when the Mishnah says, quote, Kol shebederech yidasai, end quote, anything on the way down is chayav. Li'isuyemai. What's that coming to teach me? Must be teaching me a new case that's chayav. So you're telling me, the Mishnah is telling me a new case that's pater. It's probably the case of the ladder and the rung. Well, the Mishnah is also telling me a new case of chayav. What's that case? And the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan says, I'll tell you what it's talking about. Both cases in the Mishnah are not talking about a ladder and a rung. When the Mishnah says there are cases, I have a chiddush, a new din that certain cases are chayav, and I have a chiddush, a new din that certain cases are pater, neither of them were talking about a ladder. Both of them are taking place in a butcher shop. And the butcher is chopping meat. And in this chopping, he has upward motion and downwards motion. We'll see all the different motions that he's got. And it's telling you, anytime he's on the downswing, chayav. Anytime he's on the upswing, he's pater. And we'll get to the motions shortly. But first, the Gemara is going to tell us, we have 4 brysas that talk about a butcher, and it's a 4-way contradiction. So it says Rabbi Yochanan, Ella liyisuye, line 31, Ella rather liyisuye. When the brysa says, on the way down is chayav, he's telling you liyisuye katzav, to add that a butcher, katzav means a butcher, that a katzav, a butcher, is chayav. And hachanami, so too when it says that there are some cases that are pater in the end of the Mishnah, Lisuye Katzav is coming to tell you the case that the butcher is pater. The Tanya will learn in a brisa. And here we're going to have 4 brisas. Brisa number 1 says, Katzav shoyim and Katzav, a butcher that was chopping. Tanachah, the one brisa says, Lefon of Chayav, in front of him is Chayav, La'achra pater, behind him is pater. Tanya Yidach, a second brisa says, La'achra of Chayav, behind him is Chayav, Lefon of pater, in front of him is pater. Tanya Yidach, a third brisa says, Bein Lefon of Bein La'achra of Chayav, front and behind is Chayav. Tanya Yidach, the fourth brisa says, Bein lefana bein la'achra pater, in front of him or behind him, he is pater. So again, the first one said he's only chayav in front. The next one said he's only chayav behind. The next one says he's chayav both. The next one says he's chayav none. So we have a 4-way contradiction. And Rabbi Yochanan says, V'loi kasha, there's no contradiction. Now let's just go through the motions of the butcher. Right? So he's got his meat cleaver is on the table. And he picks it up, or rather he takes it, and the first thing is he lowers it, straightens out the arm, right? Just like a golf, so preparing for his golf swing, right? So he straightens out his arm. That's a downward motion. That's 1, 2, up in front, 3 is down behind, 4 is up behind, and then 5. Now the first 4 motions were not really the goal. The goal was the 5th motion, the downward. But we started off, that was in order to be able to swing back up. That was to go down behind. That was to come back up. And that was to come back down. So the first 4 motions were really all there as a preparation for the next move. And the chiddush is that I don't care what you're thinking and what you're preparing for, down is always chayav, up is always pater. And each price will have to be fit into those motions. Says the Gemara, V'loi kasha, line 36, Khan, the first price, so that said he's only chayav in the front, is be'yerido shalafano, it's going down in front of him, but liyishalach, not behind him. Khan, the second brisa that says he's only chayav behind him, is ba'aliyah shalafana when it's going up in front, v'yirida shalachra, and down behind. Khan, the third brisa that said he's chayav by both, is ba'yirida shalafana v'shalachra, it's going down in front and behind. And Khan, the fourth brisa that says he's not chayav by either, is ba'aliyah shalafana v'shalachra, which is going up in front and up behind. But at the end of the day, we did not resolve this shiloh. What is the din when a person's going up a ladder and he stepped on a rung? We just said the Mishnah is not talking about that. So what is the answer? When a person's going up a ladder, he's moving up, the rung is sagging downwards, then it slips out and kills somebody, zichayav a pater. So the Gemara is going to make one last effort at getting an answer for this. And it's not going to be an easy one, because the Gemara is going to seem to say it's a machloikis. Says the Gemara in the last narrow line, line 40. Lema, let us say, kitanoi, that this din is actually a machloikis between 2 tano. What is the machloikis? We have one brisa that says, the person's going up a ladder, and the rung slipped out underneath him. Exactly our case. Tani chada, one brisa says chayav, is chayav. But tani yidach, the other brisa says pater, is pater. So the Gemara is going to suggest, my love, isn't it so? The This is the machlokes. The Mar Savar, the one that said Chayav, holds Yeridahi, that it's considered derech Yerida because I'm looking at the rung and the rung is moving downwards. Umar Savar, and the other Tana holds, the one that says Pater, holds Aliyah, we look at the person, and therefore it's considered going upwards. So we seem to have a machlokes, says the Gemara Loy. That's not the machlokes. The Brisa, really both Brisas hold, this is considered going upwards. The Kulei Alma, it stands for the Kulei, everyone agrees, Aliyah, it's considered going upwards. Now you're going to ask me, so why does one Brisa say Chayav? Going upwards is never Chayav. V'loi Kasha, it's not a Kasha. Khan, the first Brisa which says Chayav, is to Melanizkin. He's Chayav if he damaged, he didn't kill, and damage is Chayav even if it was moving upwards. Right? The rule that a person's only Chayav when it's moving downwards is specifically by killing, but not by damage. Khan, the second Brisa which says Pater, is talking about Legolas. When the third white line, 43. When he killed somebody, he's going to be Pater from Golas because it's considered moving upwards. That was the first teretz of the Gemara. Ibai Seima. The Gemara is going to have two more terutzim. Both of those terutzim, we are considering this situation a downwards motion because we look at the run. Hava Legolas. And both of them are talking about Golas. The Gemara is going to be very just technical. If the rung sagged when he stepped on it, it's considered derech Yerida. The first teretz is going to be the rung was wormy, so it sagged. It wasn't such solid wood. It's considered derech Yerida, and he's chayav. If the rung was solid wood, so when he stepped in it, it didn't sag, it didn't move downwards, so he's pater. The next case is going to be if the rung was loose in the vertical beam of the ladder, so when he stepped in it, it moved downwards a little bit, then he's chayav. If he was going up and the rung was tight, it was solid, didn't move, he's going to be pater. Let's just see that inside. Below Kash, line 43. Oh, the first Brisa which says he is chayav is talking about the asliya. The rung was wormy, so when he stepped in it, it sagged. Oh, the second Brisa is talking about the loya asliya. It was not wormy, it was solid, so there was no downward motion. V'ibay seima. The last final teretz is the loya asliya. Both Brisas are talking about a case where it was not wormy, the rung was made out of solid wood. Below Kash, there is no stira. The second Brisa, which says he's pater, there was no downwards motion, is talking about the miyahedek, that it was tight in its socket. And the first Brisa, which says that he's going to be chayav, is because when he stepped in it, the wrong sagged. The loy miyahedek because it was not tight in the socket.